Hello, how are you? It's me, Galen. Galen's got Parkinson's. Now, I'll show you something. Hang on. Oh yeah, it's good, isn't it? In some of the videos recently, we were talking about the magic of games when we were but young, when we were no but lads, as they say up north, and why those games were so exciting. And we're sort of condensing theories now. You know, I one theory, like it's like your first kiss. It's not your best kiss. It's not your most meaningful kiss, but you don't forget it. It's your first one. And so your first war game is going to be a bit like that, isn't it? It's just special. One of the games we talked about was a Napoleonic game I was in, where I got killed by voltigeurs. And one of you asked, what were the rules that gave us, as a club, such an exciting strategic game? You know, looking for rules that build those sorts of things in. Now, they didn't. Those rules didn't exist. In fact, the rules we used in 1973, 72 weren't even Napoleonic rules per se. They were Wargames Research Group rules, but they were Wargames Research Group, and in 1971 they published Wargames rules for the period 1685 to 1845. So it was like sort of Marlborough, Monmouth-ish onward. It didn't become the Napoleonic Wars until 1974, which was when they did a specific Napoleonic game. So the games weren't precise. Nowadays, people say, oh, what's the best game for excitement? Or what's the best game to develop strategy? Or what's the best way to, Well, the best way has always been the same way. Use that. It's not, you can't have, I don't like that game, it's not exciting. Well, you're not making it exciting. A game's a game. It's a game. You make it exciting. Your imagination. If you're organising a game, you are the person who decides what's in that game. And there are things you need. And a lot of, I find big gamers nowadays, even gamers from who know better, who should know better from years ago, don't do it. Every game must be playable by sides that can achieve their objectives. Now, I don't mean by that win a huge battle. That's not the same thing. If your objective is to hold a position for 6 hours, and you do that, and on the 6th hour you are overrun, that's okay, you did it. You held out for 6 hours and heroically went down under a swarm of bad things, be they enemy troops, be they orcs and goblins, be they tyrannids, it don't matter what they are, you're overrun. So games where individual players have their own objectives within a bigger aim. So my aim, I'm Commander-in-Chief. So you're lucky enough to have 3 players aside. That'd be nice. So I am going to be Commander-in-Chief. My job, I am going to decide on the overall strategy. And my aim is to achieve whatever my goal has been set by the umpire, the referee, high command, history, whatever. Then I have commanders. So we played a Malburian game quite a few months, beginning of the year now, about 6 months ago. And I was a commander, and I didn't actually take command of any forces. I had a figure, and that was me, but I gave one player all of my cavalry and a specific set of things to do. You know, keep the enemy cavalry tied up. And I gave another player all the infantry. And his job was simply to march, blasting away and destroying everything in his path until he reached the far end of the table, at which point he swung right and cut right across the back of the enemy. So that's what, and then I just sat back and waited, so what happened. But you need aims and objectives. Now, if they weren't written in a rule set, nobody came and said, here is this game, and in it you will find a load of aims and objectives. You won't. Even rule sets now where they purport to give you games, they're not really teaching you any exciting aims and objectives. They're all a bit dull. The magic's gone. What's happened? There's games I love, like, let's say, Test of Honor. The scenarios in Test of Honor, certainly at the beginning, are really just teaching the rules. You start off with one samurai and very few points, one archer, one musket man, a couple of spearmen, and you learn in the moves and the sequence. In the second scenario, they add more, and they call it a scenario, and they put a light story to it, but it's not really exciting in the sense that it's part of some grand adventure. They make it sound like it is. The winner of this game now does that, and the loser of that game now does that. And similarly with games, like, I don't know, Frostgrave. You have a tower for your wizard, and at the end of the game he comes back and he gets his treasures and his bonuses and his rewards. But till the next game he just sits in a tower and just waits. It's all a bit one-off, isolation-y games where nothing happens. I mean, what you need are campaigns. Let's be straight about it. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I am a big fan of campaign games where you have a map. Well, you all have a map. You all have the same map. And you have territory, and it's worth amounts. So you say that's a farm, or that's one worth 1 point. Well, oh, hang on a minute. It's on a major road. Now it's worth 2 points. Oh, there's a river. Now it's worth 3 points. Oh, there's a bridge, 4 points. Within a day of a market, we double it, 8 points. And then if you own that town, village, farm, whatever, it's worth 8 points. So at the beginning of every chronological gaming year, that gives you 8 points. And when you add them all up, divide them by whatever, every 100 you get an army. During the year, if somebody captures that farm, if they take it off you, they get 8 points and you lose 8. If they burn it, you lose 8. Nobody can have 8 points for that bird because it's on fire. You can cut off things. Oh, there's a road there. Oh, it needs that road to get down to my border. I'm going to attack it. I'm going to cut it off. And then I'm going to use some of my points, money. Points make prizes. So if we've got 8 points, let's call that 80 gold. Every 10 gold, I can build a watchtower. Right, I'll have a watchtower on there then, please. It takes you so long to build it, whatever, however long you decide. And you all decide. And you keep written records of what you're doing. And this is where the magic's going to come. And it's like Warhammer and 40k. 40k is good. The codexes, if you're into that sort of thing, they're great. But why aren't you writing your own? You will not find the magic of a game in a codex that someone else has written. Because they won't write it exactly like you want it to be. And at that point, there's no use you saying, oh, I don't like it. Well, no, because you don't like it. Somebody else wrote it. Write your own. What are you doing? If you want magic in a game, you have got to put it there. And it doesn't have to be sensible magic. It's got to be exciting, something different. A couple of us were talking the other day on the live feed thing we do on a Friday about wanting to do Isandwana. And the player concerned, his mate, didn't have enough figures to be the Zulus. So they got all their orcs and had a massive force of orcs and Zulus fighting the British colonials. That's magic. Now you're talking. And then you explain that. Even if it's only in your own head, you make that make sense. And in thinking these through, you start to create universes and worlds. You write your own films. And your games become coherent. They live. And they have a narrative. In my world of Dural, the fantasy world I do, I've got books that have got, like, the different philosophical. There's a monk, a cleric, in the game, and he's called Cedric, and he is a philosopher and historian, a bit like, I suppose, Herodotus. So he sits in this monastery and people tell him things. It's not always true, but sometimes he just finds out things and he writes them down. And he did a paper and it's written in this black book. And it's like comparing the creation stories of elves and dwarfs and looking at the difference philosophically in my world, not in Tolkien, not in your world, not in Narnia, in my world, the difference between elves and dwarves. And the way he does that, he looks at an epic poem about the death of a hero. And I've actually written these two poems. And one of them is from an elven point of view, and it's very lyrical and flowy and almost sort of, I don't know, sort of, how's that? I don't know, thoughtful, zen, flowy, singy type vibe going on, all about nature. And the dwarf one is all about having a big, massive hammer and bashing somebody with it right hard. You know, in the elf one, you've got the blade cutting through the ether, singing its songs of death. And in the dwarf one, you've got his head squished like a ripe apricot. So same event, different interpretation. You know what I'm saying? But I've made all that up. That's years ago. I didn't even know I was going to be doing you. I made it up for you. I couldn't care less about you. I just did it. Because it's funny. If you're not having fun with your games, they ain't magic. If you're coming back from games cross because you've lost, it's not magic. If you're coming back from games with a headache, it's not magic. If you're coming back from games saying, I don't like them rules, it's not magic. Find the magic. Yeah, nobody's going to give it you on a plate. Nobody's going to come up to you and say, got some magic? Here, ta-da! Have some magic. It's not going to happen. It's not sooty, izzy wizzy, let's get busy. Pop. No. Find the magic. I don't know if that's told you anything. No, it hasn't, has it? But I think the early games that I played that genuinely have stuck in my mind. So ask yourselves about the games that stick in your mind. Why? And I bet you it wasn't because you followed the rules of the game. Nothing funny happened. Nothing interesting happened. There was no crazy dice throws where you throw 12 dice and you get 6 ones and 6 sixes. You know, I like where you throw 6 dice and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just, it's funny. Or you send a group of men into a wood and they get lost. And you spend the next 8 moves throwing direction dice and they just go round and round and round and round and round like that. Or you decide to have a rule where you throw for like fog of war. And in the fog of war, one group of men over there, by mistake, shoots one of your own groups of men over here. Funny. It's magic. And so, I'm going to leave you with that, I think, because I'm not sure I can add much to that chaos. So what I need now is for you to tell me, what does magic constitute here? I'm not talking about Gandalf. I'm talking about that strange, ethereal quality of pleasure and happiness that I get as a Parkinson's sufferer from taking dopamine. Don't know what you're going to get it from, but there you go. So, hang on, hey, keep your bowels open. Ta-da, Chuck.